Welcome to my first attempt at history through video games. I make no secret of the fact that I'm basically a big man child, and or maybe like a Pt1 who ages on the outside but not the inside. I've always liked video games, and I still do. I've got a lot less time to play them, but I still like them. And I really understand why the young people that I teach, love video games, because obviously so do I. What I really don't get is why some YouTubers are world famous and rich from basically playing video games and posting it on their YouTube channel. If you went round your mate's house to watch them play computer games, that was the boring bit. So I don't get it, but I know it happens. So I've got a cunning plan. Just bought this today. Came out the other day. It's about America, 1899, so it says on the back of the box. And we study America 1836. Yeah, it's 1836. Right, there we go. To 1895. So we're 4 years out. I'm fairly sure that there will be things in this video game that we study. And when it happens, I'll film it. I'll give you some commentary and explain how it links to our course. Of course, I could just say, oh, you should buy this and play it yourself. But I'm not going to. It would be against the law. So I wouldn't do that. It's an 18 is this video game, you can see on the back. So when I play it and I record sections, I will be editing bits out, because my target audience is my GCSE students, none of whom are 18. I do realise that you could see it all in innumerable places on the internet, least of all across YouTube, and that's where this is going to be on my YouTube channel. I want you to be educated, I want you to be enthused, I want to have a bit of fun playing it as well along the way, and it's a bit of a big experiment, see how it works. So, I bought it, I started doing this, so I'm going to go play it now a little bit before bed, and I might have some video to add to this, to talk you through tomorrow. Here's hoping.
Now we've had, well, a bad couple of days. I loved Davy, Jenny, Sean, Mac. They may be okay. We don't know. But we lost some folks. Now, if I could throw myself in the ground in their stead, I'd do it gladly. But we are gonna ride out and we are gonna find some food. Everybody, we're safe now. There ain't nobody following us through a storm like this one. And by the time they get here, well, we're gonna be long gone.
So in this first scene, what we've got are a bunch of the outlaws, I believe. I mean, I don't know the whole story myself, but an outlaw gang who are running away from the law, and they're in freezing cold conditions in a storm in the mountains out in the west. So it's probably the Rocky Mountains or the Sierra Nevada mountain range, which were two of the huge mountain ranges over that way, and they're looking for shelter. And what they find is an old abandoned mining town. You might be thinking, well, how common is that likely to be? Well, fairly common actually. A lot of people, thousands upon thousands of people, moved to the west, specifically because there were precious metals found out there. Gold, but not always gold, not exclusively gold. As soon as the precious metals ran out, there was no reason for people to stay living there and the town to stay living there. So I mean, you can go to America now and there's hundreds of so-called ghost towns. Bodie in California out in the west. Precious metals discovered 1859, slap bang in the middle of the course we're learning. But by 1940, so less than 100 years later, it had shut down completely and the people had all left. There was St. Elmo. I think the puppet was named after St. Elmo. The town was founded, but that was even shorter. 1880s it was founded. 1920s it had all gone. And then there's Bannack, Montana, which was a surprise to me, because Bannack, Montana is well known in our course from Sheriff Henry Plummer, who was secretly a criminal in charge of a gang of road agents, and some vigilantes had to take the law into their own hands, because that's what vigilante does, and they lynched Henry Plummer and got rid of this corrupt sheriff. But Bannack, Montana itself is a ghost town, and it wasn't until the 1950s that was completely abandoned. But it was certainly something that happened in the American West.
Ain't sure what we're gonna find out here, Dutch.
We have to try. Stay close. We'll do our best to stick to the trail.
Can't believe we lost Davy, too.
He's the last one, Arthur. No more. We need to get those people warm and fed.
At least we don't need to worry about Pinkertons tailing us in this.
Oh, Pinkertons! What an absolute treat and a joy for a history teacher like me to see them in this. Now, the Pinkertons were founded by an immigrant, and we'll come back to this because this game seems to do this quite well. In actual fact, the American West was a really diverse society, and the Pinkertons themselves are an example of this. They were set up by a Scottish immigrant. They actually started off as railroad detectives, which is strange. Why would be detectives specifically for a railroad? That tells you how dangerous it was on the railroads and how much of a target railroads were for outlaws, because these railways carrying really expensive things, carrying thousands of dollars worth of goods out in the middle of nowhere away from protection. So they had their own detective service, did many of the railroad companies, and that's kind of where the Pinkertons got started. The Pinkertons managed to foil an assassination plot on Abraham Lincoln. Obviously they failed a bit later on, but we're not going to talk about that. They were really famous after the war for tracking down famous outlaws like Jesse James, Butch Cassidy, and tracking down outlaws with a speciality. Now, the thing is, you had to have a fair bit of in Red Dead Redemption that the Pinkertons are after this gang of outlaws. I don't know what they've done yet. I guess we'll find out later down the line. But it's great that they're mentioned in here because they were a feature, though they were mainly only for the wealthy. So these outlaws, they must have robbed perhaps a railroad company or a bank or something to get the Pinkertons on their tail. You had to pay a fair dollar, some sweet moolah to hire the Pinkertons. Oh, the Pinkertons were said to have a force at their height in the Wild West later on in the century, perhaps around about this time of 1899. A force that was even bigger than the American Army. So that shows you a little bit about how the West was set up, how the people didn't believe enough in the government or the federal law enforcement that was there, so that they were having to take the law into their own hands by paying a private law enforcement firm. You know, they couldn't have been so successful if the existing law enforcement was particular.
Smells like a party in here.
Turn the place upside down. Grab as many supplies as you can. We need the essentials. Food, medicine, whiskey.
I'm starving.
You should eat something now. Get your strength up for the ride back. O'Driscoll's. I don't believe it.
It's a strange one, all right. Maybe they're hiding up here, too. There's a big price on Colm O'Driscoll's head. Nearly as big as the one on yours.
Wanting Colm dead is about the only thing me and Uncle Sam agree on.
Don't die just yet, cowboy. Come on, compadre.
Well, we can't go back the way we came. Let's try this way.
Ain't you a sorry sight?
Can't argue with you there.
See? I told Dutch you weren't the right man for this.
I'm sure you did. You alright?
I don't think so.
Come on. Hopefully this will lead us out. You see that on the ridge?
So in this scene we've got some wolves attacking, and that does, well, it did happen in the Wild West that wolves were a problem, especially that cowboys faced out in the middle of nowhere. But all of the accounts that I've read suggest that the wolves by 1899 had learnt to fear guns, or at least to stay wary of them, although other accounts suggest that guns signalled to wolves that there was a meal, because very often hunters would leave bits, like the offal that they didn't need behind, and the wolves would gobble all that up. So it's unlikely for this sort of scene to be.
You see any more, Arthur?
Don't think so. Jesus. You still with us, Marston? Just about.
You're gonna be okay.
So you can see in this clip that there's somebody being referred to as Herr, as in Mr. in German. And this game does seem to be really good at showing the diverse society that you got in the American West. Because the guy who was up the mountain rescuing that fellow with our main character was a Mexican. Obviously there's a German in the outlaw gang. And there also appears to be an ex-slave. And all of these different people often found themselves out in the West.